For we meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear. For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon and to the planets beyond. We have had our failures, but so have others, even if they do not admit them. To be sure, we are behind, and will be behind for some time. But we do not intend to stay behind, and in this decade we shall make up and move ahead. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. The great British explorer George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked why did he want to climb it. He said, because it is there. Well, space is there, and we're going to climb it. And the moon and the planets are there, and new hopes for knowledge and peace are there. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked.
You do now see the overall crypto market cap is now at 1.12 trillion. We're no longer in fear. And now on the fear and greed index is starting to tip the other way. Now, if it tips the other way, we get to greed. And that's crazy if you think about it. So we're at a 53 on that. Well, a few days ago, we were in fear. We're not in extreme fear, but we were in fear. We also seen a few days ago, we were as low as 1.04 trillion. So say what you want, whether you hold Ripple's XRP or not, that was a good thing, all right, what happened. But in light of everything, and don't get me wrong, right, even looking at this thing, you see Ripple trending, but it's a little bit of a pullback on the 24-hour chart. On the 1-hour chart, just slightly up. But we did go from about 47 cents back up to about roughly 51, 52. Of course, there's some people going to take profits, right? So that's what's happened with XRP. But for the purposes of tonight's show, again, everybody give a dab to Cool Cat Crypto. For real. If you like him, you don't. You like him, you don't like him, give him a dab anyway. Because he has passionately talked about BSV. It's kind of like some people, oh, he's just beating the, to the beat of his own drum. No. But want to know something? I always appreciate anybody who's passionate about anything they believe in consistently, especially when it's something that is a blue chip, right? So I want to show you guys this. And when you hit the 24-hour chart, look what it says. BSV, 28% up. On the 7-day chart, 56, almost 57% up. And I just refreshed it again, and it's still the number one of the top 100 that's up the most for the week. So what is this, Max? Why get into this? Well, for one, I'm going to show you why. And in the process of doing so, I thought I would access one of our brandings. So I even made a custom one for you, Mr. Cool Cat. And boom, there it is. Now, some people say, you want to know something, Max? That's just Bitcoin. Nope. What is one thing we learned from Cool Cat a long time ago? That the one that sits straight up and down is the beloved BSV. So that one's for you. All right. So on this outline, you're going to see some things. Let's start off with this. So back on November 15th of 2018, straight from the Bitcoin SV site, and you can view for yourself, just go to bitcoinsv.com. There's this reference, and it bugs me. I'm going to be honest, it really bugs me. It may bug you if you're taking more of a look into it. It says that BSV remains as Bitcoin. I was always thinking to myself, where is this reference? Craig Wright always calls BSV Bitcoin. What's his name? Dr. Ladid, if I'm pronouncing that right. Professor, also part of, the whole thing with the Bitcoin Association. But they don't call it BSV. They call it Bitcoin. how about some of the talk about BlackRock, talking about Bitcoin, but they make it sound like it's just amazing technology. And I'm thinking, they can't be referring to BTC. There's no way. That's just old tech. But as it says right here, on November 15, 2018, BSV remains as Bitcoin. BCH forks away. BSV, as in Bitcoin SV, becomes the new ticker symbol for the original. That's worth looking more into. Bitcoin protocol. When BCH decided to divert from Bitcoin's white paper, introduced non-Bitcoin compliant features, which included introducing anonymity. I can never pronounce that right, even if I try 1,000 times and listen to the thing on how to pronounce it. I don't know why. That hinders government and financial regulation. Yes, I know what that means, but I just have a hard time pronouncing it. This is why it's considered Bitcoin's Independence Day. Okay. So is that a nothing burger? I don't think so. I really don't think so. So I decided to get more into this. I show you the whole thing of, obviously what's going on with what you see right here. But the point is, for the newcomers, you may be saying, what the heck is this BSV? And you know how many people might be even FOMOing into BSV today or yesterday? So for one, let's get to the nitty gritty of a few things if you're wondering about this and so on. So you have a case where you got market cap is now at a little over $1 billion. It went up 28%. Volume is up to over 200%. Again, some of that FOMO, right? You have basically 91% of the circulating supply is out there of the 21 million. So the total supply is 19,266,077. Max supply 21 million. And it's like this thing has basically, I guess, the same tokenomics as original BTC. So that's worth pointing out. But what exactly is it? Well, let's jump into this part right here. BSV emerged following a hard fork of the Bitcoin Cash blockchain in 2018. We did check in with Cool Crack Crypto. I mean, I remember saying it was something else, and he corrected me on that. And he was like, no, man. So that is right. It's verified right here. Of course, which forked from BTC blockchain, a year earlier. The goal of BSV is to fulfill the original vision of the Bitcoin protocol and design as described in Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper. Okay, that doesn't sound bad. Early Bitcoin client software and known Satoshi writings. BSV aims to offer scalability and stability in the line with the original description of Bitcoin as peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Right. BTC doesn't really do that. I mean, how many times have we shared with you guys those charts, right? It mentions like, those side-by-side comparisons. Like, I know this is not an XDC segment, but we would show that example. And maybe I could pull it up for a second. Actually, I think I will. XDC, Ethereum, BTC comparison. I think I could pull this up. But basically, it shows on here. Yeah, I got it right here. I'm sorry. Let's jump to that for a second. It shows plain as day when you get into it about this comparison. And a lot of people have referenced this. We're not the only ones to reference this. Here it is. 3 to 6 TPS for BTC. Does that sound like that's scalability to you? Average fee, $15. Transaction confirmation, 10 to 60 minutes. So nothing about BTC mentions, or even on the surface, shows scalability at all, right? But when you look into BSV, it's like we've seen 100,000 TPS. Let me just pull this up for you guys real quick. And also even as high as, I believe over 1 million, right? Just crazy, crazy stuff. So let me pull this up for you guys. I had that screen up. I apologize. Yeah, here we go. So the bottom line is scalability, right? You just don't necessarily get that with, for instance, BTC. All right, I'm just copying this picture. I'm going to blow it up for you guys. Here we go. Should be on the screen now. All right, yeah, there we go. So here's another example, comparison of popular blockchains. I mean, look at this for just a second, all right? You know, maybe you're not even a person, you just like XRP all the way. I don't even want to hear this. I'm just being honest. You might want to hear this. BSV, you got proof of work. Some people are still, you know, convinced about the proof of work. Some of you guys who are in the CASPA, what do you know about one of the other guys from a long time ago who came over to CASPA? He was a former, I guess, a person from BTC or also BSV, right? So there's that, you know, the whole need to be able to still mine, and we'll get into that outline here in a bit, a little bit later. But BSV, proof of work, permission type, is also public, just like Bitcoin Core, BTC, and like, I guess, Ethereum originally, obviously, that went to proof of stake. But you have some good metrics here. You have regulatory compliant, checked. Data privacy, check, right? We always talk about JASMY data privacy, so that's check. Tokens, smart contracts, check. But what about the whole thing Max was talking about, 100,000 TPS? Check. I don't have the reference to 1 million, but we've shared that in the past about how it can go to over 1 million. So that's like, wow, man. I mean, even at 100,000, wow. You know, that just blows away the competition. Even with Ripple, guys, let's just be honest. Even with Hedera, even though Hedera is the, I think Algo and Hedera is the greenest of the green. Hedera is at like, 28,000 or 30,000 TPS, roughly in that area. Very impressive. This blows it out of the water just at 100,000 TPS. And that whole talk about 1 million, when I think of 1 million TPS, I think of like the outline we gave in regards to M10 and then that quant connection and all that crazy stuff. How about, the kilowatts per transactions? Only 4 compared to, BTC, which is 2,253. So my thing is, everything outlined here, if BlackRock is getting involved with Bitcoin, are they talking in code? I want you guys to think about that. Are they talking in code? Because when you hear Craig Wright refer to, Bitcoin as, BSV as Bitcoin, he never calls it BSV. He just calls it Bitcoin. Dr. Ladid, for instance, right? I might pronounce that wrong. Bitcoin, all these proponents, even the people from IBM, that's something we're going to get into here in a bit towards the end of the outline. They don't call it BSV, maybe a couple of them, but consistently call it Bitcoin. And I'm thinking to myself, this really bugs me, because it's like, there's going to be a moment, hear me out, that next year comes and it's like, there's a ruling, and we're going to get into the whole thing of this trial, right? And it's like, what if Craig Wright, they rule that he is the real Satoshi? There's this whole thing of royalties that are owed because of all the code. We'll get more into that. But you want to talk about that fear of missing out. This would be a case of everybody missed out except for the cool cat cryptos, or me with just a little bit of this. I don't have a lot. I have a little bit, you know what I mean? Because I took a chance on it. But a lot of people will miss out. And then FOMO comes in. More FOMO, because people are like, well, it's just going to keep going up. And then it ends up becoming what? What you saw with BTC. And is that so bad to point that out? Have I not gotten your attention yet? All right. Getting more into this, I want to go back to what we have. I want to have it make a little bit more sense. So let's jump back to the whole thing of what this is all about. So it states that, BSV aims to offer that scalability, the stability in line with the original description of the Bitcoin peer-to-peer electronic cash system, and we'll explain what that is all about. We even have a video. It's not too long. It talks about the whole thing, the concept of Bitcoin as a BSV and actual cash with a wallet, a new wallet. Like, this is brand new stuff. I took the time to get into this. BSV aims to deliver a distributed data network that can support enterprise-level advanced blockchain applications. How many times we've been talking about enterprise level? Your Ripples. We talk about Quant. We talk about Stellar. All that stuff. So there's that. To this end, it has removed artificial block size limits. Right. This is how you get the scalability with BSV, not BTC. And re-enable script commands and other technical capabilities, which has been historically disabled or restricted by the protocol developers of BTC on that particular blockchain. This allows the network to process what? Tens of thousands of transactions per second. Well, how about this? Like we just showed you. How about hundreds of thousands? How about millions? Right? Does it have other functions such as producing a tokens? Right. We showed you that check mark. Does it have smart contracts? Yeah, awesome. Okay, I get where Max is going because he covers, for instance, things like Stellar, covers Sorbonne. I can see why he's enthused. Yeah, computation, other data use cases. BSV network is unique in its capacity for unbounded on-chain scaling, while also be more aligned with the original design of Bitcoin more than any other blockchain. So when we talk about they say that Bitcoin's freedom. What about one that's freedom plus scalability? If I've learned anything, and you guys have as well, I'm sure you have, you're not a dumb audience. You're trying to learn. We got to go with the innovators. And what have we consistently noticed why we're so excited about Ripple's XRP and Stellars and all this stuff? Your quants. Because we believe in innovation, the path forward for bigger things, right? Not hopping back onto the dinosaur technology. I don't think BlackRock is talking about that dinosaur technology. I mean, maybe temporarily BATC does well, and don't get me wrong, I think it will. But if I'm going to have one that's going to outperform, I want to pay attention to this one. Now, hear me out on this. We are currently invested in altcoins, are we not? So I'm looking at BSV and I'm thinking to myself, what if I and a lot of other people in the past have been wrong about this? Now, hear me out. I came into a bag of this at 25, and I'm still up in the profit zone. It says like I'm up like 77%. Is that such a bad thing? No, it's not such a bad thing. So if we believe in alts like we do, is this also your shot at the real Bitcoin, right? But you get a little bit of that like, I see where Max is going with that with the alts. Check this out for a second. What makes BSV so unique, right? I mean, I would be asking that if I was one of you guys. BSV differs from other versions of Bitcoin in its adherence to the original Bitcoin protocol and focus on the realization and these teachings and yada, yada, right? But the efficiency of payments, distributed data applications, enterprise, and government users. How about this? Functions as an investment or store of value. So all the people are saying, nope, it's only BTC as a store of value. This is just innovation for the future payments. Boom. So I'm being honest. Is BlackRock talking in code? Is IBM talking in code? And we got some, things to talk about in regards to IBM. I want to share this with you. Talks about the scalability. How about the scale to meet market forces? Look at this for a second. Accommodate the demands of any application and payment network without restoring to second layer solutions. So that means that they won't have a case of like what Ethereum has, where nothing against what we covered, right? I don't see like a BSV with Optimum. I don't see a BSV with Polkadot. Doesn't need to do that because it already does it at its core. That's cool. I'm just saying that's pretty cool. In 2021, the BSV network mined the world's first gigabyte, 1,000 plus megabytes, level blocks reaching up to 2 gigabytes in August 2021. For comparison, if you didn't know about this, 2 gigabytes is 2,000 times the 1 megabyte block cap. True, right? Some of us are geeks and know that stuff. The block capacity of the BSV network is expected to continue growing further and support more transaction volume and data use cases. That sounds pretty cool too. But maybe just a lot of people didn't pay attention to this stuff. They've been testing Node software. They've been having this whole thing with the infrastructure team, handle up to 100,000 TPS. But again, that's an old report on CMC. Another thing that makes this unique, just get more into it, BSV rivals and aims to supersede the payment processing capabilities of platforms. Like, for instance, what? Visa. Wow. What the heck? At a fraction of the cost to users. What? Yeah, right? I mean, crazy. BSV also offers scalable, product-ready platform for blockchain app developers, many of whom have migrated from other networks. Yeah, Ethereum. Again, guys, come on. Let's just look at Ethereum at this point as basically being your McDonald's of smart contracts. And, and then I know this is not Stellar, but, Sorbonne. I look at Sorbonne being like, that has the potential being like your In-N-Out burger of smart contracts. I had to throw that in there, right? The quality. So a lot of you guys on the East Coast never had In-N-Out burger, but if you come out to the West, you might want to try it. It is good quality and it's reasonably priced. All right, this last part. The functionality of BSV is attracted to enterprise and government users within the blockchain, offering an efficient and stable platform for companies and agencies looking to experiment or build on just that, their particular tech. Is that such a bad thing to also have the government involved in this? Now, you're more than welcome to read more about this, about how the network is secured, all that, right? We're not going to make this like 4 hours on BSV, but I'm going to jump into the next thing. And if anything, it might open your eyes a little bit. So my thing is, I want to give you guys some, I guess you could say some notes. So here are some of my own notes. Some of you guys who may not know about BSV, you ask, who is, for instance, Craig Wright? Is he really Satoshi Nakamoto? Well, basically, the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto has never really been confirmed. There's people, of course, that are hardcore proponents. Even, let's face it, Cool Cat, he's going to say he is, and I respect that. But, this is one of the greatest mysteries, of course, of this new digital age that we're living in. Back in 2015, Craig Wright, who is an Australian computer scientist, hence why he's Dr. Craig Wright, claimed, of course, to be Nakamoto. Now, that was all the way back in 2015. Were you even in Bitcoin at that point? I'm just saying. But, it's been pointed out that his claims have been widely disputed by the cryptocurrency community. There's even a trial. Okay, I'm trying to catch you guys up about this. Wright has offered a variety of evidence to basically support his claim, including early drafts of the Bitcoin white paper and signatures from early Bitcoin wallets. So that's worth pointing out. But however, like it says that, from what I've gathered, he's been questioned in regards to the evidence, and some people feel as though it's been debunked. Some people feel as though it hasn't. An example is, some experts have argued that the early drafts of the white paper were likely written by someone else. I mean, I don't know that. I'm just saying what was pointed out. And there's no definitive proof that the signatures are basically from early Bitcoin wallets that belong to Wright. We don't know that yet, right? Maybe that's what the trial will also hopefully maybe point out. I don't know. We'll have to see. But the main thing is, some of these things are going to be coming up, like in 2024. Craig Wright himself has made a number of statements and claims that he has been contradicted in regards to this whole notion that he isn't Satoshi. Here's an example. He claimed to be a wealthy man. There's no public evidence to support this claim, in regards to the contradiction. But Craig Wright has also claimed to work on worked on Bitcoin, as in BSV, or BTC, I should say, with other people. But again, it's been pointed out, not enough evidence. All right, I'm not saying that it is or isn't, to collaborate these basic claims. All right, some people point out there's inconsistencies. Some people in the community, there's also people in the community, obviously, that believe that Craig Wright is in fact Satoshi Nakamoto. Some people don't. There's some people think that Craig Wright's a fraud. That's why some people state that, they think he's a fake Toshi. Bottom line is this: the evidence that offers support for Craig Wright, some people question that. And it's just an incomplete thing. It's not definitive enough to say that he is, and not definitive enough to say that he isn't. All right, I'm not going to talk your ear off about that. I want to jump into this for a second. Now, I want to give this guy a shout out. His name is Craig Wright, as in, it's just he's saying he's right, because the real Craig Wright is with a W. This guy called it October 13th, right? Literally a few days before, like a day before, I guess this kind of got sent. He says BSV and BTC will break out soon, but BSV will outperform BSV. Isn't that what you're maybe tuned into tonight? Check this out for a second for yourself. He called it. He really did. And literally, I think like a day before it all happened, about a week ago. All right. So if this very well outperforms Bitcoin, then why buy a full BTC? I'm just saying, we always pay attention to the alts. Getting more into this as well. I want to share this, his other key finding. So this guy shares this with us, and it shows this, and hopefully that's big enough for you guys. I don't know if it is. Yeah, it is. So he says BSV BTC breakout is imminent. BSV will return to the major accumulation range support resistance levels between $100 and $250. Is that so bad? Like for somebody myself, even though I don't have a lot of this, I'm like, I wish I kind of did. You know what I mean? And that also creates a little bit of FOMO. But here's the thing. Before Copa trial starts, and we'll get into the whole thing about the Copa trial. Maybe it's called Copa. I don't know. Starts in January 2024. BSV, BTC 0.003 to 0.004. But basically, look at BTC's 40,000 to 60,000. And I did point something out over on Will Fix's side of things. I said, somebody was like, this whole thing of Ripple going overnight, it's not going to happen. And I gave him this guy example. I said, well, all right, I hear where you're coming from. Maybe not overnight, but here's something to keep in mind. I did reference BTC. I said BTC, I think it was like September 12th of 2021, or maybe it was the 17th. I don't know, but it was like mid-September. Was at 42,000, right? And then in a month and a half, right? Because we know it went to, was it October 11th, right? Or November 11th, sorry. 11/11/2021. Yeah, that's a month and a half. In a month and a half time, BTC went from 42K to 69K. So that's $26,000 increase in a month and a half. Now, that's not overnight. And I can understand where people say about that. But here's the thing. I know this is a BSV segment. The key takeaway is if BTC with not much utility, and let's face it, almost kind of feels like a meme coin at this point, was able to do that with dinosaur technology, if you really think about it, in a month and a half, a $26,000 increase. What about 25,000 overnight with Ripple's XRP? All right, Max, come on, man. Get back to the whole thing of BSV. Right. But this statement, 100 to 250, BTC 40,000 to 60,000. So should I treat BSV as like how people should have, and almost a lot of them did, originally had BTC at, who knows, under $100, because it is under $100. It's like 45, close to 50. I'm just saying, I'm throwing that out there. Here's what he's talking about. There you go. Now, getting more into this whole thing of the Copa trial. Now, I want to talk about this for a second. Here's my notes. I want to share this with you. So basically speaking, the Copa trial. Do you know what the Copa trial is? And if not, this is where we all come into play. Because this Copa trial could be the oh crap moment for, let's face it, over 90, maybe 99% of all crypto investors. And is that so bad to point out? So we know that the whole thing of Craig Wright, big mystery. And, who doesn't know that by now? But what about the Copa trial? Craig Wright and the Copa trial. So Craig Wright, COPA trial, if you wonder what COPA is the Cryptocurrency Open Patent Alliance. So he has a civil lawsuit filed by the Copa, right? This alliance against him, as in Craig Wright. And basically speaking, the lawsuit was filed in the UK High Court, United Kingdom, back in 2021, and it's ongoing as of October 2023. And the only thing I could think of why Robinhood decided to hell with, listing BSVs, they didn't want no part of this. I mean, that kind of aligns in that timeline. I'm just being honest. Like when you see the SEC going after like Ripple, and you saw a lot of exchanges delisted, this also kind of reminds me, to a sense, of that type of thing. It's like, at the end of the day, they gotta. There's action and reaction. So Copa, non-profit organization, was formed all the way back in 2020. That's not so long ago. Their, of course, objective is to promote open source development of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Back in 2019, Wright filed a copyright registration in the United States claiming the ownership of Bitcoin white paper and released the related source code. Okay, that's worth pointing out. Copa argues that basically Wright, as in Craig Wright, is not the author of the Bitcoin white paper. Now, hear me out. I know the comments, I'm sure Cool Cat's like, hey, man, I'm going to show you all this stuff. That's cool, too. Do it. But basically, yeah, they argue that he's not the author, especially of the Bitcoin white paper, and that the white paper is not copyrightable. And a lot of people have pointed that out. Like, this is why some people say he's fake Toshi, because, it's like, it's not copyrightable. So that proves that you're not him. Now, hear me out on this. I don't think it does. That's just my own 2 cents, right? What about this trial? So the trial is expected to focus on the following issues: whether Wright is the author of the Bitcoin white paper, number one. Number two, whether Bitcoin white paper is copyrightable. Okay. Number three, whether Wright's copyright claims are obviously valid. The outcome of the trial could have a significant implications of the overall crypto industry. Now, this is the juicy part you want to pay attention to. I don't care if you're talking about degen stuff or whatever the heck you're talking about, Caroline, pogo sticks, boil it, mash it, stick it in stew. It's Friday, football games, whatever, right? I understand it, right? Kick back, relax and stuff. But also at the same time, realize that you are a crypto investor and you do not want to miss out on the good stuff, the potential good stuff. We talk about FOMO, fear of missing out. This might be the king of FOMO. I'm being honest. Of like, a lot of people just didn't look more into this. I'm just being flat out honest, and I'll make an announcement later into the show on what I'm planning to do in regards to BSV. Just hear me out. Do what you got to do. The outcome of the trial could have significant implications, of course, on the overall crypto industry. Sorry, I got to catch up on my notes. If Wright is successful in proving, listen to this, that he is, in fact, the author of the original Bitcoin white paper, and that the white paper is copyrightable, he could potentially claim royalties, like I mentioned at the beginning of the outline, from anyone who uses Bitcoin or the Bitcoin code. You know how many people have done that? What do you think that's going to do for the price of BSV? I mean, come on, guys. Are we oblivious to that? This could have a chilling effect. I'm getting chills thinking about it right now on the innovation in the crypto industry. All right. What about Copa? Great. I understand. If Copa is successful in their findings to prove that, Craig Wright is not Satoshi Nakamoto, it was established that the Bitcoin white paper is not only not copyrightable, but that anyone is free to use it without permission. Now, this is where people from the BTC maxis, your Michael Saylors and your what's his name, Da Vinci's and those guys and someone be like, yeah, pound my chest, BTC, right? Like King Kong and stuff, because they'll be like, freedom, freedom, freedom. And you think you get tired of seeing Michael Saylor now? Oh my gosh, you'd probably be like a 24/7 news stream. You know what I mean? Like, he might have his own channel, like not Fox News, but something like that. You think it's bad now, he will never shut up at that point. And then what would that do for BTC? You better believe BTC would go to the moon. My key takeaway for you is, even if you're not on board with it and you do think it's fake Toshi, should you treat BSV like, you know what? I'm going to at least get a little bit. And is that so bad? How many projects have you got a little bit in anyway? How many garbage, this is not me bashing on, Vegas Inu or anything like that. It's not like that. I'm just saying, like, how many bad meme tokens there are out there that you threw like maybe a couple $100 at? It's not financial advice, but I'm just stating, is that risk to reward ratio worth it with this? Like it says, it would help ensure, this is my notes, that Bitcoin remains open source, according to a Copa victory, and free to use. The BTC maxis would say, yeah, that's what we want. But if you own BSV, oh my God, can you imagine how many people would FOMO in with a Craig Wright victory? The mainstream outlets were reported as well. They only report on good and bad news. I'm going to call it right now. You would see on mainstream news, like breaking news or something, like for Fox Business or CNBC or something like that, Satoshi Nakamoto is Craig Wright. You were trying to tell me that BSV would stay at $45 or whatever it is right now, 50? No way. You would see things go parabolic like you've never seen them before. I think we can agree on that. Now, what about this trial? The trial is expected to last several months, and a judgment is not even expected until early 2024. Huh. Well, Max, what about the Bitcoin halving? Yeah, what about that? What about that? So, for one, you can mine BSV. It's got, I guess, the same or similar tokenomics as BTC. It's worth paying attention to. Now, getting more into this, I will share this. This is crazy stuff. And I know I'm putting a lot of emphasis on this, but can you blame me? So I want to share this with you. This comes from my other crypto utility tool belt, which is Reddit. Now check this out. From Reddit, this trial, they're saying it's a trap. You know, I kind of wish I could do Admiral Akbar right now. You know, it's a trap, and without getting the stupid YouTube copyright stuff. But Copa trial was actually, this guy says it's a trap, and it was set up by CSW's 4D chess master plan to put all the pieces into place. Like, what is that? So I got more into this. Decided to pull this up. Ignore the language. Sorry about this. This guy says, I have a feeling Craig is done effing around this time. He has all the corporate pieces in place. Now, this is some of that stuff you've been watching our show for a while. Cool Cat's been talking about this. And maybe we've been kind of like not even paying attention to that. Maybe some of us are paying attention to him, but, let's just be honest, Cool Cat, you know how it is. Sometimes people just don't take it serious enough. Should we take Cool Cat a little bit more serious? So 8 years is a long time to make one's enemies become complacent and overconfident. When we talk about the whole thing of this was done by design many, many years ago, that's something to be mentioned. Get more into this. Because I don't want to go back and forth. I'll just read it. This guy says 2024, this is 13 hours ago. 2024 is a year that combines everything perfectly. Listen to this for a second. Please listen to this. Like, maybe you don't listen to anything else. I say, listen to this, because I know you guys pay attention to the whole thing of BlackRock, and the whole thing with spot ETFs and so on, right? Bitcoin spot ETFs and so on. Listen to this. This guy says, knockout_SS, 2024 is the year that combines everything perfectly. BlackRock's ETF is 2024, February halving, for instance, was it April? Possible CSW's iceberg, Copa court case, DMCA in Europe and the United States, the perfect storm. Craig let it be known that the joint trial was his doing, indicating that he sought it from the beginning. What? We can also see that Craig wanted to advance exchange in Copa. I don't have that point, but he did not succeed. If he did take advantage of the scenario, it would stop seeing him as the greatest strategist that we all think he is. Now, of course, some of these guys are BSV fans, but it makes you wonder about this. So I'm going to jump back to this about what these guys are stating. Let me get more back to it. Sorry about that. And basically, this guy 4 days ago says this is a very strange thing. The cult usually forgets the predictions or promises after they come to fruition date. But the rolling iceberg is how Craig was going to crash BTC at the halving. I'm going to pull that up for you. All right, give me a second. Here it is. Just got to load that, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, here it is. So 4 years ago, there was this topic about, it says, CSW said when he gets, as a Craig Wright, his BTC, he will dump it. Here's the reference. Sorry, I'm going to get to this right page. Here it is. That he will dump it by executing a rolling iceberg order coupled with a 10x leverage short operating across multiple exchanges, while simultaneously doubling of the hash rate coinciding with a halving event. That was 4 years ago. Where are we at now? Another halving event. Open disclosure to all Bitcoin users. This guy does point out something. He also said he wouldn't dump. Why is he more consistent? True, right? But the thing is, this thing coming up. Jumping back to what we have. I have to navigate a bunch of windows. Apologize. Here's a bonus. right? Just in case you're not on board with this, here are some of his other predictions from a few years ago. He was so, I guess you could say, persistent and so on. No wonder these blankety blanks have such faith in the great strategist. Pull this up. Boy. Let's load that up. Here we go. Satoshi's predictions from Craig S. Wright. Back on June 19th, he does not generally call price, but will we ever be over 1,200 USD? Listen to this for a second. This is back in 2019. Back then he says, I say at 97.8% probably, with a 0.1% for no blockchain winning and 2.1% for another. BTC, he's got those things. I don't know if you guys pay attention to this stuff, but so true value of BTC at market will be between 0.10 and 0.20. Talks about the EOS, 0 to 21 decimal places. You might be one of those types of guys, you follow all this technical analysis. I won't bore you with all of it. But he says by a 64% chance of DL in prison. CZ is 93% prison for at least 7 years. That's just crazy stuff. But he says basically BSV within a couple years will be, number one. It didn't happen, but look at this part. There will be, hundreds of coins in the next 2 years. There's thousands of coins. 2 years, most people's opinions would be that they always knew I was Satoshi. I mean, why point that out in 2019? They also said otherwise not being attacked by the crowd. Many in BTC from the early days will not even be millionaires anymore. Think about that for a second. What about all these people that hold BTC? Are they not going to be millionaires no more? Are they hodling too long? It says the main players will change, and this is where it kind of gets me, because I know this is from Reddit and so on, but it does bug me. The main players will change. Who is one of the main players? It's BlackRock. What are they changing to? Are they changing to Ripple? I think so. But what if also BSV has a seat? Now, they do. We know this, Max. That's why we have Bitcoin spot ETFs. But what if they're talking, just again, think about this. What are they talking about in code? So this whole thing is store of value and encrypted messages and so on. I mean, I know some people are saying, no, Max, they're still going to have a lot of BTC. Okay, I get that. But what if at the same time they also have a lot of what? BSV. That's the point I'm trying to make. The main players will change. All right, gonna show you a little bit more about this. I know it sounds like crazy stuff, and maybe you think this is kind of like conspiracy stuff. I'll show you an actual modern article for a second. I will jump to this. I know it's a lot to take in, but it's an itch that had to be scratched. And speaking of itch, I'm gonna get my Max scratcher for a second. So let's look at this. Let's pull this up. It's comes from CoinGeek. Like, what is this? So back in July 7th of 2022, look what it says about Copa for a second. Copa. I don't know the right way to pronounce it. I guess I'll call it Copa. Delays back then, they delayed Craig Wright's Bitcoin white paper trial until 2024. And it talks about that, there's these parties, they're scheduled to meet with Deputy Master Rayburn back in 2022 for a long-awaited case management conference in which will kickstart a slow roll towards a trial. However, the day before that conference was due, Copa's lawyers, Bird and Bird, what a name, wrote to the deputy master asking him to recuse himself. If I'm pronouncing that right. The order doesn't specify the reasons given. Deputy Master Rayburn is employed by Baker McKenzie, who have acted for the N chain in the past. What? What is the connection in regards to N chain and BSV? That's a huge connection. Like, that's like the main connection, right? So, I thought there's conflict of interest and stuff like this. I'm just saying. That's crazy. That's one pointing out. And it says, which may be the reason for the request. Deputy Master Rayburn voluntarily recused himself in response to the letter and pushed the case management conference back to September. Now, of course, we're now in October 2023. So this is back in 2022. Critically for Copa, the delay has also pushed out the window for a trial for almost a year. True. According to this week's, or then, the trial is now set to take place in January 11th of 2024 and March 27th of 2024, almost 3 years since Copa's initial filing. This back then was the first significant development in the case since it was filed back in April 2021. The suit has been in a state of suspended animations as Dr. Craig Wright works his way through separate legal battles, chalking up victories as he goes. Now, there was victories, right? It's not like he lost every time. That's also worth pointing out. And the time since Copa was created, and this is why I'm bringing it to you guys. I know this is a lot to take in, but it is Friday's surprise, and this is one of the surprises I'll give you. Since it was created, the UK High Court has recognized Dr. Craig Wright's authorship over the Bitcoin white paper. The UK High Court. I was trying to give you guys something in which, a balance of the negative and the positive. Now, the positive is the UK High Court. And this is another thing that just drives me crazy. So when I cover quant and you see those interviews, right? You see Rob Paul was like, yeah, I've been talking to some guys. Mike Cornwell mentioned this. Hopefully Mike is available. He's not getting too sidetracked. Mike, if you're in the comments, remember how you stated that you're like, yeah, man, the UK is, so like even the NSA is thinking that maybe the UK is the original ones to create all this tech. The UK High Court recognizes Dr. Craig Wright's authorship over the Bitcoin white paper, right? Recognize them. And it says, currently sues over him. It's like they recognize him, but they don't. Dr. Wright has successfully defended a $100 billion case as Satoshi Nakamoto. Why go through all this trouble? If you're not him, that's a lot of money. I'm just saying, that's a lot of money. In regards to this case of Satoshi Nakamoto in Florida, and has even been prosecuted in regards to a defamation case against blogger Peter McCormick, to the point where McCormick was forced to stop claiming that his alleged defamatory tweets that Dr. Craig Wright is a fraud were true. The outcome of that case, of course, is also pending. Maybe it's concluded since then. This is 2022, but I'm just trying to show you a good reference. Dr. Wright has also filed cases against Coinbase, Kraken, for passing off both members of Copa, accusing them of using the Bitcoin name to sell unrelated projects. So again, do you notice something? Do you notice a key common factor here? And it is worth pointing out. What's worth pointing out is when people are really guilty, I'm not saying that, Craig Wright for sure is. I don't have a crystal ball. I just present information. But there's something about if a person is guilty, it's just kind of like, I guess you could say, I don't know if you guys ever studied psychology. I'm not saying I'm a psychology expert, but people who are guilty are always kind of like defensive all the time, right? But a person who is innocent and is not guilty, right? There's a difference, obviously, between not guilty and innocent, plain old innocent. You will do, especially if you have the money, in this case he does, whatever it takes to prove. And there's no bounds to where you'll stop to prove your innocence, right? And that is very admirable. All right? I want you to take that away. Now, I want to get into this part. Let me stop the screen for a second. I know this is a lot to take in. And, not every show we're going to get into this, all right? And I'm sure there's lots of comments, but I got to get into some of the more nitty gritty. Now, for some people who might be interested into BSV, you may be saying to yourself, can I mine BSV? That's a great question. I'm going to get back into my last bit of notes. The answer basically is, yes, you can mine BSV. However, you need to note that it's expensive and energy intensive. It's not guaranteed to be profitable. Nothing's guaranteed to be profitable. A lot of people like Caspa. That's not guaranteed to be profitable. But you look at the stats, and the stats show that, as of a few weeks ago, it was up over 600%. So there's that. Look at what's happening with BSV right now. There's that, right? The top performer. What about the whole thing back to the topic of mining BSV? So in regards to mining BSV, you will have to have access to a specialized mining hardware. Obviously an ASIC miner. And now you also have to keep in mind, guys from the past who mined Ethereum before it went to proof of stake, they used ASIC miners, right? And there's of course other miners that are ASIC miners that are specifically designed for instance, like what Will Fix just got. By the way, announcement: Will Fix got his miner in the mail. He took a picture of it and showed it to me earlier. I mean the package, but his particular ASIC miner is specifically designed to just mine Caspa, so he won't be able to mine BSV. But there are other ASIC miners in which can mine other ones. You know what I mean? So I just want to throw that out. ASIC miners are designed specifically for mining Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. They are much more efficient than CPUs or even GPUs. Again, look more into it. Do more of your own research. Once you have the necessary hardware, you will need to choose which mining software to join the mining pool. In regards to BSV, once you're connected, the mining software will start mining BSV if you have the right software. If, of course, you're successful in finding a block, of course, you'll be rewarded with just that, BSV, just like you'd be rewarded with BTC or the other ones, right, from other blockchains and so on. You got to keep in mind, though, in regards to the rewards of mining just that, BSV, are decreasing over time and the difficulty of mining is increasing. But again, that risk to reward ratio, if this thing goes to the moon and beyond, then it probably is worth mining BSV at these current price levels. That's not financial advice. That's just the obvious. All right. Now, let me jump into the next part, what we have, okay? And I know it's a lot to take in, but I gotta give it to you. I really feel as though I need to, and I'll chop this up later. This is the main highlights of the night, BSV. And then we'll get into some of the other coverage that we have. We have some quantum JASMY and so on. And that's good in itself. There's this guy. His name is Kristen Auger Hansen. He's a world/brain of brain conservative. He's a commentary on business, tech, law, politics, international affairs, emerging tech, entrepreneur, and venture capitalist. Roughly 30,000 followers. He has stated that in his opinion, and it's just his opinion, BSV is a centralized blockchain controlled and dependent on one man and one man only. Now hear this out. Who is he referring to? He's referring to this guy. His name is Calvin Ayre. I'm sure Cool Cat probably knows who this guy is. He's the founder of Ayre Group and CoinGeek.com, and as well as BSV blockchain, like he says, scales to enterprise levels today. Not tomorrow, but today. Who also mentions that BSV does it today? Well, Cool Cat always mentions that. So for all the people that continuously ask me if BSV is sustainable and a good investment, I have one question for you. If Calvin Ayre stops funding all the loss-making mining operations, will BSV survive? Well, I don't know. But the key thing is, what would that do in regards to supply and demand? And my thing is, we talk about like Ripple's XRP. You guys have said to me, Max, what happens if, for instance, we can't get XRP off exchanges and so on? Will that drive the price up of Ripple XRP? My answer would be yes. Anything that becomes more harder to get becomes more of a gem. Think about it for a second. Is it so hard to follow? What are gems? Gems are hard to find. You have to mine them. You have to go out and you have to go to the depths of the crazy parts of the world. Maybe, like for instance, I hate to state this, right? African blood diamonds, right? They're really hard to get and people have died over them, but going deep into the earth to get these gems, right? Hard to get. Anything that's hard to get drives price up to a sense, right? Becomes more scarce, more rare, harder to get, drives more of that demand to get it. Look at a particular item that you go to the supermarket to get, right? If that item becomes more hard to get, it does create a sense of demand, supply and demand. So, yes, it becomes harder to get and drives up demand. Getting more into this, I want to share something new with you guys. I didn't want to just do an outline about conspiracy stuff and so on. I do want to give you at least an update. So this is from Blog B, Bitcoin BSV blockchain. The power of Cent B, bringing BSV to your fingertips globally. In this article, this guy named Marquez Comlab tackles the features that make Cent B stand out from the other Bitcoin wallets, adding a quick guide on how to start utilizing one. Now, this is not a nothing burger, but this was posted a few days ago, like 4 days ago, in regards to Cent B. And the reason why I'm pointing this out, bringing it to you guys, is CentB, like it says, bringing BSV to your fingertips globally. And it mentions that, this reference to digital cash, there's all sorts of different forms of Bitcoin, apparently, right? We've seen BSV, we've seen Bitcoin Cash, and that's, it's had its moments and so on. There's obviously original BTC. But what consistently gets brought up is Bitcoin and cash, or digital cash. So this article dives into this potential of CentB. I don't think it's just like any other wallet. If it was, I didn't want to even present it to you guys. But it's usable in everyday life. And when we talk about mass adoption, this kind of caught my attention. So it says, whether you're a techie in the US, a traveler in Europe, an adventurer exploring the far reaches of South Africa, right? CentB has something extraordinary for you. Unlock the secrets of seamless transactions, global utility, and digital cash freedom. All these things, if you think about it, are what the BTC maxis pound home every single day. It says you'll be amazed on how CentB is bringing us closer to using BSV as portable money that is quick, cheap, and easy to use globally, as Bitcoin was intended to be. So I want to state this, all right? Maybe there's some people that FOMO into this. I get that. All I'm trying to point out is other opportunities. That's all it is, right? I'm not saying that, I've never been the guy that said it's only Ripple, or it's only Stellar, or it's Quant, or it's HBAR, and all this other stuff. Yeah, you guys know how I feel about Quant and XRP. They're tied for my number one. But I'm going to take BSV a little bit more serious, because I'm looking at it from the perspective of when you have the BSV or the BTC maxis saying that, Bitcoin is freedom, and, it's going to be used globally. And then you see that this is digital cash freedom. Well, that's definitely worth paying attention to. So CentB has an update. They've been on the BSV wallet for a while now. The reason they, I guess, are a big proponent of BSV is turning, Bitcoin into cash. Isn't that like something that was mentioned many years ago? But in reality, not people really do that, because it's like the transactions are very slow, cost too much. So I'm going to let this speak for itself. This is CentB, and it says bringing BSV, Bitcoin SV, to your fingertips globally. This is only like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to play this. Please smash a like if you appreciate the content tonight. Here we go. Excuse me. We're gonna watch on YouTube to make it a little bigger. Sorry about that. Hold on. I got to skip this commercial real quick. All right. Oh man, the full one is 36 minutes. All right, we'll leave it here. Maybe I'll shrink the screen down. I think that's what will fix it. Yep, that's what will fix it. So I apologize. Let's just shrink the screen down a tad bit. There we go. All right, my bad. Let me go ahead and refresh the screen real quick. Okay. Yeah, here we go.
Hey, it's Marcus here from bsvsearch.com. CentB has been a BSV wallet that I've been wanting to try out for a while now. And the reason is because of its commitment to having Bitcoin used as cash. It aligns with my belief that BSV is ready to serve as an everyday token that we can use to exchange for the things that we need to live, to have fun, and to get things done. So in this video, we're going to download the app, we're going to explore its options, features, and function. It is available in many countries around the planet, so we will click around to see what types of businesses are participating in the countries that I often visit. So I'm going to click on those, and also countries that I am interested in visiting. And I think we'll be amazed by the number of participating businesses who are now working with CentB. So let's dive straight in. I'm going to look for CentB. Here it is. We're going to install it. Installing. Open. Referral code. Don't have anyone's referral code. Just on this, here are languages. Netherlands, Turk, Zulu, Italiano, French, Filipino, Spanish, Dutch, German. Okay, so that's me. English. Start. Okay, English. Mobile number. So you need to type in your mobile number. Okay. We'll choose country. Okay. They're going to send you a code. That's the code. Paste the code. Confirm. Code accepted. Tap here to recover an existing SendB wallet. No, we don't have one. Select a pin. Okay. I'm going to select a pin. Re-enter. Choose a name. I'm probably the only one with this name. Okay. It's available. Back up your wallet. If you don't back up your wallet now, you may lose your coins. Syncing your wallet. What have we got here? Change theme, refresh balance, change theme, dark light, peachy, okay. BSV equals that. So we're going to back up our wallet. If you lose this phrase, you will lose your coins. So that's really important. So what have we got? Now that we have logged on, let's check out what they've got. How are you feeling? All right. Great. Okay. It's like you're greeting. I'm feeling great. So that's done. Display name is that. Last name is that. Use email as paymail. Referral code. Privacy policy. I can add my picture there. Later I can do that. There's a help file here. What else have we got? We've got the home. That's the paymail. You can receive using a scanner, scan code, or with a Bitcoin address. It's denominated in euros. Description, great t-shirt. We're buying a t-shirt, for example. And then we say request. So it's now looking for our contacts. So we can say mobile number, right. So it works with a mobile number. Interesting. You can add SendB handle. You can add their handle there. Great. So
All right. I don't know what happened there. It said it was only supposed to be like 2 or 3 minutes. And when I played it earlier, it was 2 or 3 minutes. So I apologize. Anyway, we're going to round this off here in a bit. So I'm now going to show you the last bit of this. And this is one of the key areas. And on this one, I can basically see how long it's going to be. So wrapping things up, you've heard about BSV, some of the partnerships they have. And one of the key things that also stands out in regards to BSV is IBM. So let's take a look into that for a second. What is this whole thing with IBM? So let me go ahead and jump to this, and gone ahead and just fast forward it to this particular part for you guys. What is IBM's take on BSV blockchain from Dr. Agata Slater, if I'm pronouncing that right? This particular segment is about 5 minutes. And if it goes over this time too far, I'll go ahead and intervene and stop it. So let's go ahead and play this. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Here we go.
View of how Bitcoin SV and its capabilities kind of sit in the kind of landscape of blockchain that you work with.
Mm-hmm. So being here in this conference and many other events related to Bitcoin SV, I know that there is a very passionate community behind this technology. Us stepping in, me personally representing IBM, I'm a bit more withdrawn from that discussion as to, which blockchain is the best, which protocol is the most optimal one. As I said in the beginning, we really just are looking to solve our clients' problems with the best tech solutions there are. So by definition, we're agnostic as to, we're like passionless about this technology, but that leaves us an open mind to really assess the technical capabilities of this technology. And I mentioned as well that we're a comprehensive team. We have, technical architects, we have developers, and we all looked at this technology together, and we assessed it from many different angles, and we feel that it offers a very good fit for enterprise use cases because of its scalability, because of low transaction costs. When you're proposing a solution to an enterprise, first thing that they're looking for is stability. They can't afford to take the risk that in 2 years' time, the blockchain that they are building an application on is not going to exist. So us proposing a permissionless solution to an enterprise, we're also, as IBM, accountable in some ways for that. So we have to make sure that the technology fits well. And the second thing that they're looking for is scale. And there are very few technologies, permissionless blockchains that offer the type of scale that BSV promises. And I'm saying promises because to me, we're sort of still missing the real life applications of that scale. I think this is going to change as more enterprises that have that scale by design are stepping into the ecosystem. That will be a real stress test for BSV.
So it would be helpful for IBM to point to some commercial use of Bitcoin SV and sort of say, well, look, this is already working. We've got a case study here that should give you confidence. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, true. However, we're yet to see, this technology being used by enterprises at scale, but I think this is going to change very soon. And we work with many clients. Some of them are still very attached to this idea of permissioned blockchains. But as we've already said, this is sort of like a continuum. It's like the cloud evolution, right? You start from a private cloud, then you move on to hybrid, and then you end up with public cloud. Something similar happening with blockchain, but as enterprises, and there are more advantageous, adventurous enterprises who are stepping into this space. I think we're very quickly going to see that scale being really implemented in an enterprise context.
And what about the specific partnerships that you have with BSV-related startups? Can you tell me a little bit about them?
Yes. So last year, we were collaborating extensively with Smart Ledger on building the CertiHash application. And this year, last year, we started a very successful collaboration with Gate2Chain, who are very promising, fantastic, enthusiastic team. And together, we have built an application called Trace, that creates an immutable record of transactions and a history of any asset, basically, and in a form of a digital twin.
And I know that can be used to trace the provenance of food, because there's been some sort of dinners where people have been able to see where their lettuce leaf came from and stuff like that.
That's true. I sadly missed that, but I heard it was good.
But so that is something, was Gate2Chain your client in that circumstance, or were you sort of hiring them to produce something that you can then offer to other clients?
So,
all right, I thought, on that note, because, it's about Gate2Chain and so on, which it's fine. If you want to nerd it out more, you can. But the point was the key takeaway in regards to BSV and IBM, okay? And that's why I want to share that with you guys. All right, to wrap things up, the way I look at it is like this, in conclusion, when it comes to BSV. For me personally, I'm looking to add way more to my portfolio for BSV. That's what I'm personally doing. I'm not saying that you go out and do it for yourself. It's not financial advice ever. But the way I look at it is, I see this pathway forward for BSV. Some people may look at it as a gamble. Let's just be honest about that. Like, some people say, well, if Craig Wright, this whole thing of he gets deemed as he's not Satoshi Nakamoto, that's going to tank the price of a BSV. How about this for size? What if he is found guilty, right? And that does end up happening. Aren't we supposed to have focus on the actual utility? And is that such a bad thing? So it might also be another opportunity where like, wow, all right, so it does tank. But what about when you still see circumstances like the whole thing of IBM and whatnot? Some people say, well, they'll pull out and so on. Again, it's never financial advice. Do more of your own research and decide for you if it's for you or not. But for me, there's too many factors that state that if he is the real Satoshi, then I'd rather take that chance, I guess you could say that gamble, that he is. And if that is the case, oh my goodness. Like I honestly think if I had to pick one as far as FOMO, that would create probably more FOMO than anything else out there. And that is what attracts me to this. Just being blunt, being honest about that. But even on the surface, right? Even if there was no Craig Wright is Satoshi Nakamoto, let's say that never existed. Let's say he never even claimed to be Satoshi, period. The utility of BSV really is impressive. IBM recognizes that. Some of these other ones obviously recognize that. What was that thing we saw earlier? Visa recognizes that. When you take more of a deeper dive into BSV, it becomes more clear that, all right, not too bad. Like for instance, I hold, Quant. And I say to myself, well, Quant, great price, right? We might not see it at these prices much longer. Some people said might go down to 60. I don't think we see 50 or anything like that. Obviously, I'll take advantage of that. At the same time, I'm not going to buy more BSV on these green candles. That's just me. But I may wait for a little bit more of that dip again. Let's face it. I mean, that could happen. It might not happen, especially if we're really at the start of the bull market. But you got to pay attention to all this stuff. I'm paying attention to it. And my thing is, I think I'm going to treat BSV how I should originally treated BTC. And that is, I buy it at these prices and I hold it for a very, very long time. Oh, Max, you are going to hold it to 2025 to the moon. No, this is when I treat it a little bit different. Kind of like how we should all treated BTC. You should have had an entry point of, like a great example, $100 per BTC, right? Back in 2013. If you would just simply held that from 2013 to maybe, 2021, right? That would have been roughly 8 years. Looking to hold this for kind of like that amount of time. As like, wow. And you know what? Right now, even pulling up like a calculator, let's just pull up BTC one more time. It's still doing well. Here it is on your screen. It's the top performer. All right, sitting at $53. So, maybe I wait for it to pull back, obviously below 50 or something. Might not do that, but, it's a good chance it will. And, actually, I see another thing is about 49. So let's just say 49, for instance. And then, for some of you guys, maybe you have a different type of budget. I don't know. I mean, we all have different circumstances and so on. So it sounds expensive. 49 of these things would be like, $4,900. Do you buy, I don't know, let's say you buy only 25 of these times 49. That's roughly about $1,225, right? That sounds also pretty expensive. What about you don't have that kind of budget, right? Let's say, for instance, you do, I don't know, let's just say 15 of these times 49. $735, okay? And then basically, let's say, you kind of DCA or whatever, and you just say, you know what, I just want like a little bit more of these, whatever the case be. But let's just say it's just 15, okay? You're good on 15. Well, I'm not saying that it goes to 69K, but what about if it went to, for instance, 10K in the next 7 to 10 years? Just hear me out on this. So you have 15 of these. It goes to, it's just basic math, guys. Come on, I mean, 15 times 10,000. Is that so bad to have made 150,000 on it? Some people are going to say there's other better opportunities. Hey, I get that, especially when we talk about Ripple's XRP, all that. But I am looking at it from the perspective of You want to know something? That's on the low end. What if it did go to some of the other prices, like 69K or higher? Just it depends on how long you're looking to hold it. Because why are we referencing some of these prices? Because of what BTC basically did in the past and so on. Do we get that adoption that BTC has? We could, because those at the beginning of the outline, we mentioned about this shift, right? Where you have millionaires. They were once millionaires, and then they made a hodl too long on this and go into the new innovation. Could that very well happen? We talk about people from Ethereum jumping shift to going to other ones. What about the old Bitcoin people, the old BTC people? Will they jump to this? What about institutions? Will they jump to this? So in that crazy scenario, let's not even say 69K. Let's just put it right at 60,000 times, like 15 of these things. That's $900,000. Now you're starting to really talk some crazy stuff. And I know that might sound like my version of hopium, but I don't know. I think all of it is worth pointing out, and I thought I would point it out. So with that said, that's going to wrap up today's deep dive in regards to BSV. Hopefully you enjoyed it.